Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Hello! Oh, so good to see you all. And as you can tell by my casual dress, we're going to be sightseeing today, out of doors. I am here in the midst of this sleepy homo fishing village called Provincetown, Massachusetts. It's on the tip of old Cape Cod. Cape Cod is, hello darling, hello friends of mine. Cape Cod is in the shape of an arm, like this would be Boston. And then you come to Hyannis, and then around to Dennis, and Wellfleet, and Truro, but the homos go all the way to the tip. There they are. Hello! The best place to see this lovely village is actually atop of our lovely Pilgrim's Monument. And so we're going to go there. Try to keep up if you can. Is a copy of one in Siena. So apparently, the Pilgrims were Mexican. So come and join me. Let's climb the stairs. Before we take our trip up into the tower, I think it's wise to watch an educational video and see all about what we're going to be enjoying today. Join me.
Provincetown Harbor, 4 Cape Cod lighthouses, and on particularly clear days, welcome and walk to Cape Cod's Pilgrim Monument. To commemorate the first landing and the sign of the Mayflower Compact.
Here we are inside the tower, and my brochure tells me that most of this is ramps all the way up, but there are 116 steps, and a fun way to pass the time while you're climbing is to count the steps. Let's do that right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 48, 49, 50. 51, 2, 105, 106. Oh no! Oh shoot! I counted. Did I count that? Oh. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 4. 111? Oh, the view's pretty. But that climb, those stairs are so gassy. Where's the restroom?
First floor, lady.
Bye.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. For those of you who are returning, thank you for coming back. And for those of you who are here for the first time, my show is all about celebrating artists and their body of worth. And boy, do we have an artist today that is always worth celebrating. As a matter of fact, Her entire life is a celebration. Before we get there, however, I want to remind everyone that today marks 292 days since our theaters shut down in New York. We will be back bigger, brighter, and better than ever. But for the moment, let's take a moment to pause and think of all of the artists that are out of work and all of the people that are also out of work as a result of the theaters being shut down. And that includes the ushers and the people at the concession stands and the people who sell the merchandise and the restaurants and the businesses in the theater district. And that includes theater districts from coast to coast. I wonder what the theater scene is like in Minnesota. Perhaps Miss Richfield, 1981, will let us know. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is. Oh, hello. Are you having some butter?
I was just having a little snack while you were talking. I was listening, though. I was listening. It was something about
I'm having
ushers.
some gravy.
It was about ushers, wasn't it? You were talking about
I was talking about ushers and everything. First of all, I want to ask you. Absolutely. So I want to ask you, how are you really in the midst of this crazy world we find ourselves in? And you're very patriotic today.
I know. I'm still celebrating. Woo!
We're all so happy. I mean, now, are you coming live from Richfield?
I am coming live from Richfield. And you know, the crazy thing is, for years in Richfield, Minnesota, my cat is really interested in. All you need to do is get out some butter and you've got a friend.
Oh my God. Well, it looks just like my TJ. I should bring TJ in to join us.
He is the best. This is Lewis. Oh, geez. I just
hello,
Lewis. There.
This
is Lewis. There we are. Hi, Lewis.
Oh my God, what a gorgeous cat. How long have you had Lewis? So
great. Lewis and I have been together for 2.5 years. And I got him when he was about a year old. And he is part of the gang here. When I'm online, he's just there. So when I call bingo, he comes and visits, and I usually have a treat for him. But even when I don't have a treat, like last week, I didn't have any treats. Mommy forgot to buy wieners last week, and he likes wieners.
That's never good.
Yeah, that didn't go very well. But he still showed up. You know, he still comes to see me, and so. But I have another cat too. I have 2 cats. Do you have 2 cats?
I do.
Yeah,
I have Shadow and TJ.
Yo, TJ, who looks like, so is TJ the one that looks like Lewis?
Yes, exactly. We'll match them up today.
Well, I'll tell you, it's part of what's gotten me through these crazy days is my pets. And I don't know, what would we do without our pets? It's just because I live alone, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not like you. I'm not popular, because I know you don't live alone.
If I could have the popularity and my pinky finger that you have, I would be a happy person.
Okay. Well, you must be a very happy person because I know you're very popular. Because I remember when we first met, you were doing Carol Channing.
I was appearing as Carol Channing. Let's clear that up.
That was so amazing, though. And then you quit doing that.
I quit doing it. I put that behind me. Well, when first of all, as I got to know Carol,
I got to meet her.
We were very good friends. And the closer we got, the less I wanted to appear as Carol. Yeah. And it was because I never felt that I could live up to the real person.
Oh, who could? She's a legend.
She's legendary. Well, you're legendary.
Yeah, but nobody tries to be me.
Well, everybody tries to be you. I have to tell you, Columbus Day weekend was the first time I got away this entire year. And I'm in Provincetown. You were not physically there, but your presence is felt everywhere. You've got pictures everywhere. In the ice cream shop, there was Miss Richfield waving back at us. In the, every place I went, there you were.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask
because, when you're in P-Town and you're doing a show, you remember this. You've got to have your face plastered all over the place because it's just ticket by ticket. That's how everybody makes their money in P-Town. So you got to advertise yourself. You got to be out there.
And I wanted to show that video, and I'm glad you gave me permission to do so because it takes me right back to P-Town. I will say this. I had a great time. It was just for 2 days. Very, very quiet. But the reminder is always there with everyone wearing their mask and everything. And everyone was very, very careful.
Amazing mask compliance, right?
Isn't it amazing? So
everybody wore, and the thing that I was impressed with was even I was out on the pier, because sometimes I like to go out on the pier and just like have an ice cream cone, sit and look at the water. Sometimes you forget to do that. I'm like, holy schmoly, we got this big lake. I should be looking at it, you know? And so I go out there and I look at that lake, you know what I'm saying? And the fishermen coming off the pier had masks on. Like everybody's wearing masks. You know what I mean? If you can get those fishermen, those lobster guys to wear masks, everybody should be wearing a mask.
That's right. Well, I will say this, being in Provincetown and seeing two mainstays no longer there, and that's the post office cafe is gone.
Yeah, the post office is sold.
And the Portuguese diner, I mean, a bakery.
No way, that's closed?
No, they closed. Yeah, the signs were in the door that they've gone out of business after X number of years.
I did not know they closed. I know the Mayflower Cafe, one of my favorite places to eat across the street, wasn't open for this year. But I think she was just closed for the year. But you think they're closed permanently?
I think so, sadly, but I do.
Oh, that's very sad. The fried dough is like I would get two. You know, I would get one to eat, and then I would put one on the ground, and I would roll in it. You know, just so I could like pick up the scent.
Now, do you get fried dough in Minnesota?
We get fried everything else, pretty much. I mean, at the state fair, and we have one of the best state fairs in the country, and literally half the state goes to the state fair. It's like 2.5 million people go to the state fair, and there's like 5 million or 5.5 million people in the state of Minnesota. And so it is the greatest people watching in the world because it's country people and city people and everybody in between. And it's so, so fun. But they have lots of fried things, everything fried and on a stick. And the ultimate was, yes, they actually have fried butter. Like you can get deep fried butter on a stick. And let me tell you, I have not, thank God, I can't go to the state fair anymore because I'm in P-Town. So I haven't been to the state fair in 18 years. You know, because I started P-Town when I was 11, so you can just do the math. Okay.
Well, I want to go back there. How did you end up in P-Town?
Good question. That was a long, difficult road because I knew about P-Town. You probably did too before you went. It seems like people know about it before they actually experience it.
If I can interrupt you for a moment, the first time that I arrived in P-Town, I was in my late 20s. I arrived in Provincetown in the middle of Carnival. And I took the bus to Hyannisport, and then I took another bus to Provincetown.
That's how I went the first time.
Really?
I did, on the bus through Hyannisport.
Exactly. So I arrive in Provincetown. I get off the bus in front of Cafe Blasé with these huge Japanese lanterns. And of course, I was in gay Disneyland, and I felt like my entire world was just spinning around. But what was so wonderful about that?
And people were probably just celebrating the end of the war, at that point. I mean, if you were 20 years, I'm just doing the math in my head, but I think rationing was over and people
were celebrating in the streets. But what was really wonderful, Miss Richfield, were all the shows in town.
Oh.
And it was not a competitive field. Everybody was supporting each other. So that was my arrival in Provincetown. Now I'd like to hear about yours.
Mine was that I wanted so badly to go to P-Town, and I did not have 2 nickels to rub together. I was like broke. It was a broke. What I had done is I became a full-time artist. I'm putting that in quotation marks because it didn't really happen. But I wanted to be a full-time artist, and so I quit my job and I started answering phones. I was doing anything, right? My favorite one was I was answering phones at a fleet company that where people would be on the road and they'd have car trouble or whatever, and they call you. And let me just tell you, like, you don't want to be on the other end of the phone when they're trying to use an expired gas card. It's just like you just don't want to deal. It's like a bunch of anyway, a lot of Ford Tauruses. Anyway, so I was doing that, and I was desperately every summer this was for like 4 years in a row. I tried to get into P-Town 4 years, and I was traveling with Atlantis Events.
Interrupting you, but
I was traveling with Atlantis Events. Like I was sort of known in the homo community, and I still could. It was very competitive to get in there, and it was also a slower time. It was starting to shrink instead of expand. And, things do that, markets kind of, and it was just shrinking. And so, Bob Smith, God rest his soul, died of ALS a number of years ago.
No.
He tried to get me in. He talked to Phyllis at the post office. And, between drinks, she listened and, I don't know.
She was good.
They burning her business down. I don't remember. Anyway, the point is that I didn't get in. And so finally, I had done a gig. And this is a testament to show business. So anybody out there that's listening is that you never know. You never know in show business who is going to help you. It's going to be the custodian. It's not going to be some producer somewhere. It's going to be somebody who you just helped, years ago. So what happened is I did an event for the Norwegian Cruise Line, and I had to talk to people, and I was new. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I talked to this woman who there was like 200 people in this thing, and this woman was like not having it, right? She was kind of like difficult, right? And there's a lot of other people, so I sort of just like left her and talked to somebody else. And she had been somebody that I was supposed to talk to because she was a real high producer in the company. So I was going to try to, I just walked away from her. I was like, wow, like she just wanted nothing to do with me. I was sort of embarrassed. I didn't know what to do, And of those 200 people, who do you think called me for a gig? But this woman who was like really, who was not having it. Unfortunately, I hadn't said anything, disparaging. I just left her. I was like, okay, this woman doesn't want to talk to me. And I left. She was the one that called me for a gig in Hyannisport at the Fagawi Ball. And it was at the Sheraton or the Four Seasons or something, and the Kennedys.
The Four Seasons, that's in the news a lot lately.
That's probably, I don't even remember where it was. Wherever it was, it had a fancy name, and it really wasn't that fancy. When you get on the Cape, it's like, stuff is just great. Anyway, I just love it there. Anyway, so the point is that I did that event the weekend before. My cat is just like going bananas with the blinds. So, but the point is that I did that event for not as much money as I wanted to, but I just wanted to get on the Cape. And then she gave me directions and dropped me off at the bus depot on Sunday morning, the weekend before Memorial Day. And I went out, and it was when Ryan Landry used to start Showgirls the weekend before Memorial Day.
You did as well.
And I did that. I walked around town Sunday afternoon in drag. Then I got dressed up for Monday night, and I made my bus ticket for Tuesday morning. And I always tell Ryan, good old Ryan Landry, he had a $300, it was $300 prize that day. I mean, he could have given me, it was like he gave me $300,000. I mean, I did not have 2 nickels to rub. $300 at that point in my life was life-changing money. And so I got a gig at the Crown, I worked on Carnival that year at the Crown, helped out with tickets and so forth, and did a show. And then I got a gig the next season. But the only one, get this. Now, you've been to P-Town when it's really busy. There's up to like 25 shows a night. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of shows. And that's not counting piano bars. And I mean, that's a lot of tickets to try to hawk, And at that time, there was only 6 shows a night. Because it was, look at the cats doing laps around the computer. Where does he get this from? Where do you get that energy? So anyway, but there was only 6 shows a night because it was just the Post Office Cafe and the Crown and Anchor. And it was a hand of God, Richard. It was hand of God because, I could be special. I could be so much more special because there just wasn't as many people as many acts in town. There just wasn't as much to choose from. So I got there and it was fabulous. And the very next year, it started to expand.
You mentioned earlier hawking the show. For those who do not know what that means, explain that to everyone.
Oh, you have to. Oh, I was thinking, I don't have a picture of me on the scooter, but you saw me on the scooter.
I did. It was in the video. Yes.
That little yellow scooter. I drive that scooter through town, like people think it's 90 miles an hour. It's really like 75 miles an hour. It's the typical thing. People exaggerate. And, I zoom in and out of people and yell at people, usually just scream at people, come to my show, come to my show. And that works somehow. I've tried to explain things. I've tried to be nice to people. It just doesn't work. You just have to tell people. People will follow directions. You just have to tell them what to do. So I just say, come to my show, buy a ticket. Don't be an idiot. Buy a ticket. And that seems to work, weirdly. I'm not sure why, but it works. So you stand out there. So it's like an hour. What I used to do is an hour, 2 hours before the show, and like an hour on my scooter, yapping with people, and then an hour out in front of the Crown and Anchor. And then literally I would get in at like 6 minutes before the show started, strip off my stuff that was on, which is usually sweaty and like, God, you know, sort of put that aside, lay that over a chair. And it would be so, because it would be, you work so hard, it would be wet at the end of the show. You know, it was so sweaty, you were so sweaty. And I would powder my nose, literally, that's about all I had time to powder. And then throw my outfit on, the music would start. And, you know, Rick Murray at the Crown, where I first was, you know, like they started the show whether you were ready or not. The music played, whether you know, nobody asked, are you ready? You know, you just hear the music go and you have to part that curtain. And I was at the cabaret room. So you stepped out of that restroom onto that stage. And it was like, but you know what? It just was so worthwhile because I was so broke and so in need of funds that I realized like every person in those chairs was like $12 in my pocket. You know, if I could sell 50, great. If I could sell 110, better, you know? I mean, I can't do the math in my head, but there's probably twice as much. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is, I'm rolling in it now. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm actually, the point is that I do survive. And because of that, and because I've been careful with my money, you know, I have been able to survive. I just feel sorry for the kids. Like if I was young in show business, I'd be answering phones. I don't know what I'd be doing.
Well, you are such an iconic part of Provincetown. I can't even think of Provincetown without you. No, I seriously mean this. I'm not just blowing smoke up your tuchus.
There's lots of fabulous, you know, I mean, the Ryan Landrys of the world, of course.
Yeah, they're all there. The Verlagine and
he's much older than I am. He's old, though. He's very old.
Randy Roberts, Verlagine Merman, but you become such an iconic part of Provincetown. Obviously, things were curtailed this summer. You know, what was your experience there this summer?
Well, I'll tell you, it was kind of a blessing and a curse. I'm going to try to pull up this picture on my phone to show you what it looked like. So it was we had to be outside. We couldn't start as early as I wish we could start. We had to start in, I think we started July 10th. So it was pretty late because I usually start before Memorial Day weekend with the Baby Dyke weekend. We call it the Baby Dyke weekend, where you want to make sure, you know, you're wearing your big hair and playing football in the street. You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, I literally got hit by a football in the head a couple of years ago. So, I mean, it really is Baby Dyke. And they're lovely. They're fun. We always have a good time. I mean, they're good people. So let me show you the picture of, excuse me.
I love the cat.
Hang on, I've got the picture. So anyway, and so we had to be, so we were out in a parking lot, actually. And it was very interesting because it was rocks. You know, it wasn't gravel and it wasn't dirt. It was like somewhere in between. So it was like pebbles. It was like, or not pebbles, like rocks. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm telling you, I just wore big platform shoes. And like the fact that I got through that without killing me and, you know, 14 other people is kind of amazing because it was tough. Oh, here are the pictures. Here they are. So I've got a beautiful nighttime picture I have to show you, though. It's so pretty. So that's what we did. That's what we did. We did shows outside, very limited. We could only do 46 people because you could only have 50 people in the space. That included me. So that's 49. And a sound person. That's 48. And then Booze Hound, you know, the one that sells the Darren, who sold our alcohol. And then Dave from the Gifford House, who did the spotlight, and that was it. It was really, oh, here, I did find it. Oh, good. I'm so glad I found this because this is so pretty. You're going to love this. Let me show you this picture. And this is, I'll put my glove back on. So there we go. Okay. So I think you can see it, right? Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Let me move the lights. Yeah, can you see it? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I can see it.
And so you can see the parking lots there. And then the brew house is in the background behind that. But it actually was kind of pretty at sunset because, you know, the colors matched the colors in the sky matched the colors on the, it was actually quite lovely. Unfortunately, by the time I started the show, it was pitch black. And I had to be 25 feet away from people when I sang. And
Well,
so
did that change?
it's a long ways. You don't think of that as that far, but it's a long ways.
But how did the dynamics change of hawking your show for each night?
Oh, that was the good news because because there was a lot of people in town and not much going on. So I never felt so popular. And so I every night I would get on my scooter, get dressed at home, get on my scooter, and then I take Bradford down. It was fabulous. It was like I felt like a regular performer, you know, like I went to work and, you know, just got there, got into the dressing room, got organized, and then went on stage. So I didn't have to bark at all because it was such a small, there was just so many. In fact, I could have easily sold twice as many tickets, I'm sure, at least. It was
how do they market the shows and everything since you were not hawking the shows anymore?
All you did is put up posters, and people were so desperate for entertainment. That's why I think when people can go back, like in New York, to the cabarets, the theaters, you know, all the fabulous stuff that you have there, they're gonna like break the doors down. You know, you're like, don't have to worry about selling tickets, because I think people really want to see live entertainment again. And in P-Town, it's truly, I know we've talked a lot about P-Town in this interview, but I could feel like I could do hours about talking about P-Town, because
I love P-Town, so we can
amazing place. It's really, and you know, you're not supposed to use the word unique. You know, we were all told that in school, because nothing's really unique. And P-Town is the one exception to that. I mean, there's
agree.
no place else. Think about it. There's no place else you go. I mean, even like beautiful Sitges, it's not P-Town. It's not, you don't go expecting to go to a show every night, you know, and people just go and they've got their list of, you know, these are the tickets we have and these are the restaurants we're going to go to, and we have to get our reservation early so we can get to the show. You know, it just doesn't exist anywhere else.
So how long were you in P-Town this summer? I
was there almost 10 weeks. So I got there the end of June, and actually I guess I got there about June 24th or 26th or something. And then I quarantined for 14 days for like 2 weeks. And just about that time is when we opened the show. So it worked out really well. And then I stayed through the whole thing. And we didn't have a spike in cases or anything like that. I mean, the mask thing really worked.
We were very careful there.
It really works, the mask thing. I'm sure that, you know, people still get it, but it's like we didn't have any spikes. And then I stayed until the middle of September, and then headed home. And yeah, it was just really, you know, it was amazing. And I hope, I mean, as amazing as it was, I hope we don't have to live through it again. I hope next year we can, but who knows, you know, like the good doctor with the big scar.
I said at the beginning of the show, today marks 292 days. The theaters all shut down on March 12th. What did your calendar look like on March 11th?
Well, I still did another gig, actually. Of course, you know, because I thought, well, let's just, you know. So I did a gig at GW. Yeah, that's in Washington, D.C. You know, everything's initials there. D.C., GW. You know, they don't have time. They're busy. You know, they don't have time to actually say the words. I think it stands for George Washington University. I don't know. Anyway, I did a gig there. And it was for the marching band in D.C., by the way. Fabulous. Amazing. They have a symphonic band, orchestra. I mean, anyway, the whole thing's amazing. So, but the marching band wanted to get uniforms, you know, because they're gay, and that's what you do. You know, you all dress alike. And so, so this was a fundraiser for them. And you know, we were in touch, and it was like March 14th. I said, are you sure that you guys want to do this? If you don't, I understand. I'll give you your deposit back. I'm not, you know, that kind of a person. Like, I totally understand. And they were like, no. We really want you to come. And the university was the one that was kind of driving the bus on that. And they kind of pushed it and said, we are absolutely doing this. Unless you want to cancel, we're still selling tickets. And so we did. We were the last ticketed event in Washington, D.C. And then I left. I could hear the gates closing behind me. And the bus, you know, left out of town, and off we went back home. And then everything stopped. And just in like 10 weeks, from the middle of March to the beginning of June, I was supposed to have done like 2 cruises, a resort, 3 weddings, 3 nights in New York, 2 nights in Boston, 2 nights in Philly. And, you know, all of that was gone. Just in that like short end of March, April, May. That's just a really busy time for me.
And did everything get rescheduled for you, or did everything get rescheduled, or are you having?
No, it didn't get rescheduled. Let me rephrase it. It did get rescheduled to the fall, which was nice. Mm-hmm. And then finally they were like, okay, we're just, we tried to reschedule it once. The Triad in New York rescheduled me, and where I love it, on 72nd between Amsterdam and Columbus. Fabulous. What a great place and great people.
I've done many shows there. Yeah.
I love it there. It's my home away from home, and I hope it never anything happens to it.
I saw you at the Triad.
Well, my friends at Martini's Above 4th in San Diego closed, and that was one of my favorite places to perform on the West Coast. So I had my fingers crossed about these other places. There's a place in Philly, a place in DC, a place, there's all these like awesome places, and you just kind of keep your fingers crossed that they can hang on. But, in San Diego,
I can only imagine that this is what it felt like when all the vaudeville houses were closing.
Yeah. And like in San Diego, they were up on the second floor. They only had a small outside area. Mm-hmm. So they just couldn't do, what do you do? You can't, you can't put tables out. There's no place to put tables out. You're on the second floor. So that's what worries me about the Triad, because, they're.
And you are a very audience interactive entertainer. So that also has put a curtail on what you're able to do or not able to do.
And I actually did go out into the audience with protection on and chatted with people a little bit from a distance. I just take the mic stand and stick it in their face.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you were already doing the Atlantis cruises when you first wanted to get booked in Provincetown. How did the Atlantis cruises come about? And you were their ambassador for quite some time, weren't you?
I still think of myself as the ambassador.
Well, maybe you still are. I would think
ambassador emeritus at some point, I guess. I don't know. But they said, this was great too. Again, you never know. I did a cabaret performance in Minneapolis when remember RSVP, when that was owned by Charlie Rounds and all those guys. They're so fabulous. They're all friends of mine. Andy Schmegel. Yes, exactly. Yes, it is. And then Kevin, God rest his soul, who passed away years and years ago now, but he was the one that started the whole thing. Anyway, so they were doing, and I could never get them to hire me. And I was new at performing. So, and I was always like, oh, hire me for a cruise. I'll just go for free. I just want you, I think it'd be great. And you know how it is. It's somebody in your own backyard. You kind of think, I don't know, would this really work?
Let me ask you a question. What do you think the hesitancy was?
What's that?
What do you think the hesitancy was in terms of booking?
Because, well, as I would say, Jesus wasn't respected in Nazareth, he wasn't popular in Nazareth. It's too bad.
I've been down that road.
It's like ABBA, in Sweden. They hated him in Sweden. They sold more, they were more popular than Elvis and the Beatles put together, But anyway, so for me, they asked me to do a little cabaret, a little MC for cabaret. And it wasn't that great of a cabaret. And so the whole time I'm thinking, oh God, this was kind of a turd in the punch bowl, And then right in the front row was Greg Kaminsky and Rich Campbell.
Oh, wow.
And so they said, if you're not traveling with RSVP, travel with us. And and then I got to travel with, that's how, otherwise I would have traveled with RSVP because they were all my friends, and they still are my friends. But I think, they felt like, ooh, it's such a local act. It's based on, and so their concerns were, I would have had the same concerns. I can understand. But the, these two queens from LA are like, well, we don't have this in LA, let's try her, she'll work for cheap, which I did, for years. And then they've been so generous with me, over the years, and really kept me afloat. Atlantis Events. And then when I got to Provincetown, those two pieces of my life really have been the foundation for being an artist. And you know how that goes. I mean, you were an artist.
Do you feel that when you got to Provincetown and you started getting established there, that's when the tide changed for you?
Yeah. Oh, my word. Richard. And I remember going out to Provincetown and I remember thinking, oh, if this does not work, I couldn't do it anymore. It was like in debt from trying to, work part-time and still travel. And, it was just, it was crazy. I just couldn't make it work. And I wasn't sadly talented enough writer, because I was also trying to do some freelance writing. I just really wasn't that talented. I mean, it was okay. I was great until the crash, the .com crash. You remember the .com crash? I was great. I was getting paid a lot of money before that. And then once that happened, only the really, really good people rose to the top, and all the rest of us got our walking paper.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, when your first night in Provincetown doing a solo show, where would you place that show?
Oh, where would I? I was like in seventh heaven. But okay, here's the rest of the story. I was talking about taking the bus. So don't tell people I drive. Okay, that's a secret. So don't. So if you're listening, suspend reality. I was driving out to P-Town, and my transmission went out on my car in Chicago, and it's a 1,500-mile drive. I didn't have enough money for a hotel. I was just going to drive it all the way through, and my transmission went out, and so I realized I was the only people I knew from Minneapolis to P-Town in that 1,500 miles was my aunt and uncle in Chicago, and I was 15 miles from their house when my transmission went out. Talk about hand of God, right? That's when someone's looking out for you. So ended up staying with them for like a week, and I had such a crappy old car that they couldn't find a transmission for it. They had to go to Canada. They had to call Canada, so it had to cross international lines to get down to Chicago. And so then they were like, we're not going to get it for a week and a half. And I said, I have to get to Chicago. I mean, I have to get to P-Town.
I got a show to do.
I used my frequent flyer miles, and I didn't travel that much at the time. There was all the frequent miles I had to get from Chicago O'Hare to Boston, Logan, and then rent a car. And I threw my suitcases in the car, and this is a true story. I drove to P-Town, and the Crown and Anchor had that courtyard. And now it's got tables and stuff. It was just an empty courtyard for years. And they said, well, just pull up. Because, of course, this is before cell phones were really as good as they are now, right? And so they were just like, just pull up and park in front, And I was like, okay. And so I pulled in and parked and got out of the car. This is a true story. Got out of the car, went into the dressing room, put my makeup on, and got on stage. I only got there like an hour before, very first show, hour before I was supposed to be on stage. So no barking, nothing. And there were 8 people in the audience. 8 people.
I've been there. I know. 8
people. And then I had shows as small as 15, even when I got out and barked. Even when I still would only have 15 people in the audience. So, it is a statement to those listening, the hard work and all that. And that's not to say hard work always pays off. It doesn't always pay off in show business. There's tons of people way more talented than me that are sitting behind computers in offices just because the timing didn't work. And for me, I'm just here to tell you, Richard, and I know you feel the same way, it's not just hard work and it's not just talent, it is timing. And my timing was impeccable, not due to my own efforts, but just due, like I say, hand of God. That when I got to town, that I could even make it for that first show was kind of amazing. That trip. I mean, right? I mean, that was kind of amazing that I could pull up, an hour before the show.
It gives you great material to work with when you get on that stage.
I don't know what I look like after that. I mean, I don't even think I shaved. I think I just put the makeup on and got out there. And
But
the good news is that 18 years later. I've had 18 seasons of amazing experiences and really, and anyone who works there on a regular basis will tell you it just gives you the financial freedom to be able to work the rest of the year.
Do you have the feeling this many years later, when you pull into Provincetown as you did the first time that you arrived there?
What's that? As far as what?
Do you still have the same feeling that when you?
I have a ritual. I take 6A when I first come to town, and I take 6A when I leave town because I love that rolling, and I love to come up over that hill. Probably get emotional talking about it. That first time I come up over that hill, and you kind of come around, and you see the big lake, yes. And then you see the monument way in the distance. And I have a ritual. And then I usually drive, it kind of depends on how tired I am, but I usually drive through town with all my shit in the car. all my stuff in the car, and I drive through town because, it's just like, oh, I'm back.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How do you pack to go? Do you have a U-Haul that you bring with you? I mean, you've got your scooter, or do you pick that up?
Well, I leave the scooter. I have like the greatest rental situation. My dear landlady has been my landlady for 18 years, which is unheard of, to have the same rental. She's just turned 96.
God bless her.
I know. So we're like, don't take stairs and, don't answer the door. We're just, and take Geritol or whatever you have to do to keep this thing going. And she has been so generous. And
How did you find her? I mean, you've stayed at the same place for 18 years. It must be heaven.
Yeah, 20 years from my neighbors, 18 years from myself. And she has these 2 properties. And then she has another property down the block that she lives in. And so it's a private little house. It's a little cottage. Has laundry, I can bring my cats, and it has parking. So, it's worth much more than what I pay her. And I pay her, I increase the rent every year because she won't increase the rent. So I increase the rent every year because you just do. Because I still don't pay what I really should pay, And here's the type of thing that happens in this world that renews my hope in humanity. Is, I sent her half the rent in, like May, or actually probably April. And I said, usually I would pay all of it up front. And I said, if I can, I'll pay the rest of it, during the summer, because I'm sure we'll be working somewhat. And she was just like, half of it's fine. You're not going to, it's not going to, and I was just like, oh my word, thank you. Because it was, I made 20%. 20%, but it's 20% more than I would have had, otherwise.
And do you do 1 or 2 shows a night?
I did 1 show a night, and we had, fortunately, at the Pilgrim House, we did have 2 shows a night. And so my friends, Suttonley Seymour and Cacophony Daniels and Paige Turner and Dixie Longate, I think those were the main. And Marty Gould. They all came up and did shows. So that was really fun too. But I have to use projection in my show. I don't have to, but I like to do a couple videos and when I play a game, I use artwork for, to show the question online or on the screen. And so it doesn't work for me unless it's dark. So and the days are long during the summer. So 9 o'clock was as early as we could start. And that's as you said earlier, there's so many entertainers, and I know that some entertainers come in and perform just for a few weeks. I did that, but that's right. You didn't do the whole summer, did you?
I didn't do the whole summer. I've never been there for the whole summer. I performed at Pilgrim House the last time I was there. 10 years. The first time that I was in Provincetown, I performed at a place called the Ocean's Inn. Do you remember that?
Where was it? I do remember the name, but where was that?
It was up very close to where the Pilgrim House is. I can't even remember. Like 3 blocks from Nappy's.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And so that was the first place that I performed in Provincetown. But are you already scheduled to book for next year?
Well, interesting. You should have asked this because we were supposed to have a conversation today. It got moved to Thursday. So we're already making plans for next year. The only problem is this darn chlamydia 19.
Nobody knows. It is so difficult.
Kill all of us one way or another, right? And I shouldn't say that lightly because it literally is killing people. But it's just it's wounding severely people economically as well. And I think of our amazing talented people, my friends who are, a lot of New Yorkers who are just not knowing what to do exactly. And unemployment runs out. And even with unemployment, who wants to be on unemployment?
So what's a typical day like for Miss Richfield in Provincetown?
Oh, it's so great because I don't have to get up early. I usually stay up late because I sort of have to peak. My day has to peak at like 9 and 10 o'clock at night. So needless to say, I don't want to be getting up too early. So I usually sleep in the mornings with the cats and get up and hang out and watch The Price is Right or something,
Do you take the cats with you?
I have both cats. I always have my cats with me.
Oh, you take them with you?
Oh yes. Yes, and they travel okay. They do
Good.
okay. Like it varies. Some of them, like my old cat, not so much. He's not really. He's not. It's been 10 years of meowing for like 3 days out and 3 days back. But we get there, and then so once I get up and I get going. Then oftentimes in P-Town, there's other things going on, like either there's friends of mine that are there because there's like a jillion people in town, or there's some event that you got to get ready for or something, or you got to update your website or whatever. So, and then we're planning the fall and the winter in the summer. So there's stuff to do. And then, but if I can, I go to the beach or something like that, try to enjoy the out of doors, because then about 5 o'clock at night, I need to hunker down. And from about 5 to 10, I'm busy. I'm getting ready. I'm, getting a bite to eat. Shaving. When I remember, not today. Totally. No, it has to be on my list. I'm sorry.
And do you partake of all that Provincetown offers after your show at night, or do you hunker down?
Well, what I do is very interesting. Back in the day. Yes, I mean I was lucky to get home with my hair on, and so but now, I haven't been, I'm just drinking the water. I'm on the Diet Coke brigade, as we say. This is actually just water today. But so I don't go out to taverns as much. I mean, I do, but not as frequently. And I like to go to Essentials. And Laura at Essentials and I sit and sort of hold court. It's a little convenience store that's about, I don't know, like 25 feet deep and about 10 feet wide. It's so Provincetown.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything in it. It's like, she sells everything from playing cards to plungers to toilet paper to gum to a little bit of alcohol. She sells lottery tickets, cigarettes, whatever. If they don't have it, you don't need it, And so, I would sit, and usually for an hour or so after my show, well, I take pictures with people. That's always like a half an hour, 45 minutes. Chat with the people. They are my boss. They are the people that are my boss. Essentially, they're the ones paying my way in life. So we talk to them and take pictures. And I did that from a distance this summer. And then when I'm done, then I get on my scooter and with all my stuff on, because I get dressed at home, and I go sit at Essentials and chat with people, and then make the rest of my way home, and then don't get to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning or some crazy thing like that. Usually, it goes. After an ice cream sandwich and a bag of chips. I don't know how I keep looking so fantastic.
Well, you look fantastic. And
you're only seeing me from the rest of me doesn't look terrible, but it's like it is a little bit.
You look great. You look great.
Thank you. I'm also not breathing right now. So thank you. Okay.
Well, I've got a comment here that I'm going to read you. Brent Sawyer is here. And Brent says, Miss Richfield looks exactly the same as the first time I saw her back in 2003. Does she have a decrepit aging painting up in the attic, or did she sign El Diablo's contract in blood? She looks great. And I concur.
Yes to all of the above. Actually, you want to hear the crazy thing about this? And I do have to say, I feel so blessed. So blessed, because I look at pictures of myself. I have been able to use publicity pictures that are super old because for the most part, I look pretty much the same. And I always tell people, not only do I look the same, but I'm using the same old material in my show. I know, it just works.
Well, I've known you for a while, and I agree you haven't changed at all. But I have to ask before, we're going to be running out of time in a few minutes. I can't believe it.
Oh, we are. Oh, my gosh.
We are. But I want to ask, how is Russ doing?
He is doing fabulous. He is selling his house. So he is in the midst of that fun. And then, he manages my career.
Yes, I know.
So very,
tell him how much I love him.
And he has a gentleman friend.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Tell him how much I love him.
Well, you know what? I mean, the fact that he's got a gentleman collar, I just lost $10. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't see that one coming. And he has a gentleman collar, and they may be living in sin at some point.
Wow. I hope so. Is that part of the house being sold?
That's part of the house being sold. Yes, that is part of
And is Russ moving in with him, or is he moving in with Russ?
They're moving in together. It's like the third option, not my house, not yours, but ours. And so it's kind of fun. And he'll be moving. You know, I'm staying in Richfield, and so we've never done this before. We've never had a long distance. I've never had, you know, I've always had. We've been together, and we're going to be apart. You know, I think it'll still work. I'm staying in Richfield. He's moving to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
No.
Oh yeah. I don't know what we're going to do. My phone bills are going to be crazy because we're going to be talking all the time. You know.
No. Will you ever get to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and will you be performing there as well?
Oh yes, I love Rehoboth Beach, Delaware.
I
love Rehoboth Beach, Delaware because it is it's like a P-town, only it's a different vibe. You know, it's like gay, not as gay probably, but you know, as far as numbers and you know establishments go, but very gay friendly and oh look at this, very gay friend. It's near dinner. It's like close to dinner time.
And
but you know, I get that way.
My cat would be in here as well.
If someone was feeding me every night, I'd be doing that too. But
will you be performing at the Blue Moon?
I will be performing at the Blue Moon. And you know, my friends Randy and Tim are there. And you know, there's all sorts of there's new places to perform in town too. But I am a very faithful person. You probably know that about me. Like I'm very faithful. If you like with Atlantis Events too, like if you have stood by me in my early years, I will stand by you until you know the two of us are
you
out of
made a
business.
comment earlier, and it reminds me of a quote that I often repeat from Joan Crawford, and she said, "Be nice to everyone you come in contact with, because the person sweeping the floor today is running the studio tomorrow." And a friend of mine says, "And the person running the studio today is sweeping floors tomorrow."
Sweeping floors tomorrow, exactly. It's exactly what I was thinking. And I just think to myself about us, you know, about our work and so forth, and how, you know, I still do really basic things. You know, I still do birthday greetings for people, and you know, it's like I'm not too important to do the little work in the world, you know, and Coco and Varla feel the same way. You know, it's like those of us who've made a living at it still do, you know, the little things that, you know, that add up. I mean, it's one ticket at a time that you make it by.
And do you have a team behind you, or is it just you and Russ?
It is Russ, and then Matt Farber is my manager, and he's in Florida now. He used to be in New York. He moved to Florida with his husband. And yeah, it's just us. And so when I do bingo now, every Monday I do bingo bonanza. And
that's happening tonight?
Yes, it is happening.
Let everybody know how they can go. And I'm going to, first of all,
Bingo Bonanza is the website you go to, and you can play on 3 cards without advertising it too much. But anyway, it's fun. It's free. You know, if you want to tip, you can tip. Otherwise, and we kind of did it that way because, you know, if people don't have money, you can still come and play. You don't have to worry about paying for it. But it's that I have like 5 people behind me. There's a technical person. There's a person that does all our switching. You know, we're using StreamYard now. We use StreamYard.
That's where we are. Yes,
amazing. But you can imagine, you know, having lots of graphics and 5 guests, and then you know, it's a lot to keep track of. And these guys do such a great job, and I don't even know what to say. And we have this wonderful transgender friend, Eli, in Philly. So there's somebody in Philly, 2 of us in Minneapolis, and 2 people down in Fort Lauderdale that run the whole thing. And it's so, you know, I've never had that many people support me. I've always been by myself. Like you, right?
Out of time, I want to ask you, with everything you've done, and you've done amazing, God bless you. And I'm a huge, huge fan of yours. But with everything that you've done, what is the one thing that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Oh, what a great question. Oh, that's a really great question. What haven't I done? What I haven't done that I would love to do yet is, and I'm getting to understand it a little bit better, is I love television. I would love to do some more of that. I've done a little bit of it, and I'm really enjoying my online work. And that's teaching me a lot, much like you're experiencing, about how to operate online, because you're sitting with just a piece of equipment in front of you, as opposed to an audience that gives you energy and laughs at your jokes and applauds and all that. You don't have any of that. It's a complete.
Well, I can hear them applauding out there for you. We are almost at the end of our show, but before we end, I first of all want to thank you for being here. I want to thank
you for the opportunity. Are you kidding? This is great.
You are wonderful. I want to thank everyone who tuned in. If you enjoyed today's show, and if you haven't done so already, please go to my website, richardskipper.com, and sign my guest book with your thoughts about the show. That helps to boost me in other markets. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I want you all to go to your Facebook friends list. I want you to pull up the, let's say, the 9th friend that pops up on your list, and I want you to reach out to them and tell them what they mean to you. Not with a phone call, not with a text, not with an email, but with a phone call. Now, before we sign off, I'm going to turn the stage over to you. You can talk about anything that we haven't brought up that you would hope that we would, or you can respond to something that we said in the broadcast, or you can just send a message out to everyone who's watching. A message of hope, a message of anything that Miss Richfield 1981 would like to share with the world. And everyone, go to the website and keep up with everything. You are truly the best. Love you.
Thank you. I feel so honored to have you say that, because we've been friends for so many years and we haven't really spoken in ages. So
no,
this is to catch up. And we still haven't really caught up. So we'll have to catch up after about what you're really doing. But I will say this is that this right here, the red, white, and blue, just a couple days ago, I think I felt like everyone did that, wow, the things can happen when we really make an effort. Things can happen. The world can change. It can change in a moment. And on Saturday at about noon, my time, the world changed. And we just need to remember that each and every day. And like what you said, pointing the wrong way. There you go, Richard, is that when we do nice things, when we perpetuate health and goodness, that just means more health and goodness is out there for everybody else to spread around. You know what I'm saying? And it can be like butter. You know what I'm saying?
Butter. And
butter, like this, not the stick.
And gravy.
Exactly. And gravy.
Yeah. I love you.
So, yes. The world can change, everybody. The world can change. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Woo!
Love you.
I'm excited.
Thank you.